Hello and welcome to the session on AppStudio and TensorFlow Lite, Machine Learning on Edge. My name is Siddesh Pillai. I am a senior software engineer working with ArcGIS AppStudio team with a focus in app framework and machine learning. In this session, we will cover the following four areas: machine learning in TensorFlow, TensorFlow Lite in ArcGIS AppStudio, and we learn how to train a machine learning model, and finally we conclude with a code along using App Framework TensorFlow plugin. We begin with our first topic, machine learning in TensorFlow. TensorFlow is an open source deep learning framework that provides state-of-the-art offline capabilities. The framework provides low-level interfaces for computing tensors and derived inferences. It is highly reliable and provides scalability of computations across machines and large dataset. Now let us learn about TensorFlow in AppStudio. ArcGIS AppStudio relies on TensorFlow Lite for its machine learning capabilities. TensorFlow Lite is a C++ library specially optimized and designed for mobile and IoT devices. In ArcGIS AppStudio, TensorFlow Lite is supported across all the platforms such as Android, iOS, Windows, macOS, and Linux. It is compatible with TF-Lite model files and only supports supervised learning. In AppStudio, you can perform image classification, that is, you can identify main characteristics of an image to determine a class, whereas object detection displays bounding boxes around multiple features in an image or video output. By the way, they work offline as long as you have deployed an app with a model. Currently, TensorFlow is only available as a beta feature. Now, let me demonstrate a face detection app in AppStudio Player that I put together using AppStudio with the TF-Lite model. As you will notice, the app receives a real-time video output via the camera. The model identifies different faces and then surrounds the face with a box. Similarly, you can train the models to detect other multiple features. In TensorFlow plugin in AppStudio, you can use the same component for both these types of models. Now, let's switch gears and learn about the building blocks of creating a model from scratch. Here, I'll provide several key workflows in order to train your models to help you gain a better understanding and how to improve your experience in building an app for your end users. I'll walk you through the steps so that you can try this later on your own to generate a model. Step number 1, preparing the dataset. To keep it really simple, generating a model requires huge amounts of data. This is because both image classification and object detection are trained using large image dataset. You can import an image dataset from an open source repository, or you can use your own custom datasets as well. As a best practice, never use copyrighted images. This includes images that personifies a real person or entity to train your models in ArcGIS Notebook. In case of limited resources, 150 to 500 images per class are sufficient to achieve good accuracy. There is no cap on the number of classes when it comes to training your model. Step number 2. Understanding data. It is critical to truly understand your data before you start training your model. It is essential to analyze and study your data first. Make sure the number of images in each class are equal to avoid selection bias, that is, preferring one class over another. Should you find yourself in a situation where you don't have equal number of images in each class, then you must use image augmentation techniques to generate images programmatically. If you want to learn more about these techniques, please check out the links at the end of the presentation. Split the data into train, test, and validation datasets. It is recommended to divide the dataset into 3 parts to avoid overfitting the model. Ideally, we split them into training set, cross-validation set, also known as the dev set, and testing set. A lot of you might have the question in your minds on how to decide on the split. Actually, the answer lies in the dataset itself. The proportions can be decided according to the size and type of data available. For instance, if your dataset is between 100 to 1 million, then the ratio can be 60 by 20 by 20. Or if it's more than 1 million, then the ratio can be 98 by 1 by 1. Now, we are approaching the last step of model training. Step number 4, train the model using ArcGIS Notebook. You can choose to build models either on TensorFlow or PyTorch and then convert it to a TF Lite, but that is something that you will take it upon yourself. However, with ArcGIS Notebook, this process is significantly simplified. It's not a hard and a fast rule to use ArcGIS Notebook, but in this presentation, I'll be walking you through some of the steps for building a model using an ArcGIS Notebook. If you want to learn more, there are links at the end of the presentation on how to build models using TensorFlow and ArcGIS Notebook. ArcGIS Notebook comes with a built-in module named ArcGIS Learn, which has machine learning capabilities such as training a model and inferencing a model. To train a mobile-ready light models, you need to install TensorFlow library along with PyTorch and FastAI. Currently, ArcGIS Learn supports 3 model types. Feature classifier, which is equivalent to an image classification. A single shot detector, which is similar to object detection. And unit classifier, which is pixel classification. In order to get started, you need to initiate the model with the following options for backbone and backend and set as TensorFlow. Find the appropriate learning rate and save the model in an intermediate format. Last but not the least, export the model in TF Lite format. This is required for AppStudio apps. We have reached the final section of this session, that is App Framework TensorFlow plugin. Here, I want to give you an overview of the plugin and walk you through with a code along. ArcGIS AppStudio 4.4 introduced a brand new TensorFlow plugin that provides a mechanism to infer machine learning models on your devices. Currently, this feature is available as a labs feature, and we really can't wait for you to try it out and provide us with any feedback. App Framework TensorFlow plugin introduces 2 components, namely Image Analyzer, which performs static image analysis, and Image Analysis Filter, which is a real-time video analysis filter. Okay, now comes the fun part. Let's code along. In this section, I'll be switching to a code editor and create a new app using this plugin. In this demonstration, I'll be using a VS Code as my code editor. For the ones who haven't tried the new AppStudio VS Code extension, I have shared a link under the reference section towards the end of the session. Okay, so now I have opened AppStudio Desktop, and let's create an app and give it a name. Maybe image classification leaf data set. Okay, so before we jump into the code, let's just include the models from the previous step. So I'm just going to drop in a couple of files. So as you can see in this folder, I have like three files. One is the TF Lite, which is the model file, and I've also included the image of a leaf, and also the txt file, which basically contains the list of classes. Okay, so now I think we have all the inputs. Let's try to like open the project in a code editor. So you can click on the edit tool and it will open the code editor of your preferred choice. And in this case, I'm using a VS Code. All right, so yep, so I can see all those models. Let me just open the QML file. So for the interest of time, I'm just gonna copy and paste the project files and also like go through like some of the relevant pieces in the code with respect to TensorFlow plugin. Okay, so the first step is actually to make sure that you have the right import. In this case, it's actually arcgis.appframework.labs.tensorflow 1.0. So once we have this, I think we just have to create the appropriate component. So since we are doing a static image analysis, we are going to use an image analyzer component. So image analyzer component actually requires only two inputs, like the model source, basically whereas the model, I have defined it on the previous step, which is basically the models folder, and just provide the file name, and also class name. So basically this is also very important because the model is gonna verify against the classes, because whatever you provide in here, it's gonna reflect in the output. And minimum score is something which is optional, but you can provide if you want to filter out like the relevant things. I mean, in this case, I've used a slider, and as you'll notice in the demo, and I've used a slider to actually filter out certain things. And it has an on finish signal, which actually returns a set of results. And I've used a list model to actually just get the results, which will just be reflected in the view. I think, yeah, that's it. So I think now we are good to upload the project, and then we can open the same app in the player and see it in action. So I'm just gonna open the upload tool and click on upload. Now let's run the app that we just created. I'm just going to open the app in ArcGIS AppStudio player. And as you notice, there is a leaf. And if you click on the Analyze button, let's see what happens. Okay, so it's able to classify with 93% confidence. You can move the slider and set a minimum threshold. And with that, actually it's able to classify two classes with respect to confidence score. I mean, confidence score is a really good way to actually get the accuracy coefficient of the model for a particular image. Now we're coming to an end of the session. We can't wait to see what you guys will build using this plugin. Feel free to take your time checking out these links. They have a lot of useful information regarding building a model. We have other AppStudio sessions, part of the Developer Summit. It's worth checking out, especially the ones with the live Q&A, where you'll get an opportunity to speak with the product engineers from the AppStudio team. Once again, I thank you for attending the session and hope you got a lot of useful information. If you want to reach us out, feel free to email us at appstudiofeedback@esri.com, or even follow us on Esri community, where we actually post a lot of articles. On social media, you can follow us on Twitter, and the handle is AppStudio_ArcGIS. I mean, we post timely updates, and it's a good way to actually get to know about the product. If you already built a cool app using ArcGIS AppStudio and are excited to showcase, reach us out, and we'll be more than willing to feature your story. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Peace.